alcohol too is something that can be abused.
But like, is alcohol a drug though?
Actually, it is. Its original use is actually for calming effects.
Okay.
That's what alcohol does to your system. So it's actually classified under drugs. Alcohol is classified under drugs.
Yeah.
It has a calming effect, like I've said. It's just that it's not supposed to be taken in large quantities.
So that means even if the children are not like in the family when like their parents are probably abusing drugs, that means even if like the parents are already like taking drugs or abusing drugs before, addicted to drugs before the children are born, it's like already deposited in their DNA.
Exactly.
So as a result of that, they can also abuse drugs if they are not extra careful.
Even if your parents are not the ones, if somebody in your lineage.
Welcome to the Timeline Show. Hi guys, welcome to today's episode of our Timeline podcast. Today we are discussing drug abuse. I'm Jennifer Egenti, your usual host, and I'm joined by Precious. And we have a new face today. We have a graduate of psychology who is also bearing Jennifer. So hi Precious, hi Jennifer.
Hi Jennifer. The two Jennifers have ganged up against me.
Yes, now so you are sure that this is going to be a very insightful discussion.
I'm happy
because we are here.
Of course.
And you are here too.
I trust you.
So we're discussing drug abuse.
Okay.
And drug is something that was, created to help treat illnesses, to help with giving us a better life.
Yeah.
But then over time, it has been abused. People have been using it for different purposes. Before we get into that, let me just give a clear definition of drug abuse. Drug abuse refers to the hazardous or harmful use of, drugs for like illicit drugs, psychoactive substances. And by psychoactive substances, I mean substances that are used that once you use them, it affects your way of thinking, it affects the way you make your decisions. Yeah. So as a professional, is there anything you want to add to that?
Okay, I'd also like to add that these drugs change our reality.
Okay.
They give us a pseudo reality. So they pull us out from where we are.
Okay.
And that's where you see cases where people hallucinate. So that's what these drugs do. I would just like to add that.
Okay, but then when we put it like that, it now looks as if it is limited to just hard drugs. But then the drugs that can also be abused, apparently I learned that Panadol, paracetamol.
Yeah, because
but then how, like, if I have a headache and I take paracetamol, how am I then abusing it?
Well, people get to points where they become dependent on some certain drugs because of the effects they have after they take the drugs. Take, for example, sleeping pills. Sleeping pills can be prescribed.
Okay.
Like for medical purposes, for many reasons. But when you begin to take sleeping pills, when you're actually okay, that's the word. That's now an abuse of the drug because you love the effect. Instead of sleeping naturally, you need something to induce sleep. So at that point, you're actually abusing.
Absolutely. Especially cough syrup. Like there are a lot of people. I remember a story. I remember a time like years back, I just saw somebody taking cough syrup and then I'm like, why are you taking it? Right? Like you don't have cough. And then the person's like, I'm just very stressed. I just want to sleep. And this thing is like a reality for like a lot of people.
Yeah.
They don't realize the fact that they're actually abusing drug. They just feel like, well, since this is a side effect of the drug I'm taking that is meant to like cure a particular illness, then it's fine, right?
Some people don't even do tests anymore. Once they just feel, I'm having symptoms of in fact they'll just say it's malaria, I'm having, let me go and get malaria drugs. And as time goes on, I think your body becomes resistant to constantly using that drug.
Yeah, that's tolerance. They just develop a tolerance to the drugs. I can remember some time ago we had an issue of a mother that gives the child sleeping syrup to induce sleep whenever the child is crying. Imagine that child on the long run developing a tolerance to the cough syrup. The cough syrup. That means the drug will no more be effective on the
when the child has cough later.
Exactly. The child will need a larger dosage of that drug in order to have an effect.
Correct. And then, that means even the children that don't even have an idea can just be like, their body can just be tolerant to it. That means they're even abusing the drugs without even having any idea.
So now you see that even children are in danger of abusing drugs, but even though it's not their fault.
Yeah.
And then it's even prevalent in young people as well as older age people. And then even drugs that can be abused are like prescription drugs.
Yeah.
Like you take the drug when you're not even, like it was not prescribed to you, and even when it was given to you, you don't use it the way you're supposed to use it.
Yeah.
Because some people just be like, instead of me to take maybe one paracetamol in the morning and then in the afternoon, they'll just take 3 in the night. After all, they told me to take one. That's you abusing it. Or you feel the headache I'm having now is stronger than one I had yesterday, so let me take 4.
4, exactly.
So all those ways are ways you can actually abuse.
Let me quickly throw in data from the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime. They state that research suggests that early 12 to 14 years old to late 15 to 17 years old are at a critical risk period for the initiation of substance use. And that substance use may peak among people aged 18 to 25. So like, I just wanted to buttress the point that you said that it is prevalent in like mostly that age range.
And then they even said that older age people too abuse drugs, but it's mostly because they have this trust there.
Yeah.
Like they feel like since they are old, like they already used drugs, they know the best time to use it. Do you think that's true? I mean,
of course it's not true, because no matter how you have experience, it's best to consult a professional when it comes to. In fact, we've moved from the stage currently where people just prescribe drugs. It's just that here in Nigeria we still do normal prescription, but most advanced countries actually do DNA testing before they start talking about giving people drugs.
Okay.
So they find out, will this drug have an addictive effect on you before they actually prescribe it. But
I think what fuels that is the fact that when you have headache, you then take paracetamol, it actually works. But then people forget that thing you're probably trying to treat, maybe it is an illness in your body that is causing the headache.
Exactly.
So at the moment you have temporarily curbed that headache, meanwhile whatever is in your body
it's still
there.
And now the fact that it is too much, look at the fact that in Nigeria, as at the 2018 National Drug Use Survey, that 14.3 million drug users, of which close to 3 million suffer from a drug use disorder. So look at our society. A lot of people post videos of them smoking, doing drugs. Even it's down to our parents. So they just say, "Mommy, I'm having headache. Go and buy my medicine."
Like it doesn't feel like a problem anymore.
Really like rate all this type of things. They feel like if I post a video of me smoking on social media, nothing's going to happen. You see, look at the fact that even people post on their social media, people biting. You go to the store, you say you want to buy coffee, nobody's asking you where is your prescription.
I feel like another problem is when a particular drug works for you, maybe it is prescribed to you for this particular illness, and then somebody else has this illness later in the future. You just say, "Oh, I used it, so somebody else should use it," and then like I feel like it cannot just work, right? Exactly, it cannot just work for like these different people, like the same illness. It can just be like maybe something else that caused it, but then since it worked for you yesterday, you just feel like, "Oh, my child is supposed to use that, and then it's going to work for them as well." But that's also abuse.
So I even remember one of my friends telling me that because anytime I feel sick, I was like, "Let me run test." He's like, every time, whenever you run test, it's always the same thing. So why are you wasting your time to run the test? And it's like, these are the issues, because he's probably looking at my financial, like, oh, you are wasting money to run tests. But it's important that when you feel sick, you actually go and run proper tests and get properly diagnosed so that you can know the right drugs prescribed by the doctor.
It's even safer that way, if you ask me.
So now we've established that hard drugs can be are being abused, even as well as prescription drugs. But then why are people doing this? Okay, we said ignorance. We've read through our discussion, we mentioned that ignorance is part of the reason why people abuse drugs. But what other reasons are out there? Why do people why do people do it? Because if you look at hard drugs now, say, okay, maybe they're trying to ruin their life, but how about like other drugs that even alcohol too is something that can be abused?
But like, is alcohol a drug though?
Actually, it is. Its original use is actually for calming effects.
Okay.
That's what alcohol does to your system. So it's actually classified under drugs. Alcohol is classified under drugs. It has a calming effect, like I've said. It's just that it's not supposed to be taken in large quantities. But
people they modified it to make beers now, because beer they will come and give you for so all this thing, maybe we're supposed to, some people take alcohol like once they wake up, morning, afternoon and night, and they forget the complications it can actually give to their head. They just feel like they're having a good time. So now we're talking about why people abuse drugs. Look at maybe I think peer pressure is a very solid reason why people feel like they should actually do some of the things they do.
Because in an environment
they're saying, oh, my friends are doing this, so me, I feel like I should do it. And it's like, if your friend enters hellfire, would you want to join your friend enter hellfire?
Apart from the fact that it's even a sin, it's even a crime normally. So like, you're even prescribed, you are taking the drugs because your friends are taking it, but then it also has an adverse effect on your own health as well. So regardless.
Okay, so like I'll always tell people, and also based on studies, at the core of every drug addiction or drug problem, there is actually an underlying issue.
Okay.
People abuse drugs for different reasons, and if the reason is not being dealt with, then at the end of the day, even the drugs, you can't take it away from the person. You just mentioned peer pressure. If peer pressure is not being dealt with, like someone realizing that people shouldn't be able to, your peers shouldn't be able to influence your decisions, your choices. If this is not dealt with, no matter what you do, you can take cocaine from somebody, but the person switches to something else. So you still have to deal with the underlying issue, the person building his own self
restraints.
Exactly. So you have your own self-awareness. That's the word.
Okay.
Self-awareness. You're confident about your own self. In the issue of, when we're talking about the issue of peer pressure now, there are many other issues that bring about drug addiction and the rest of them. Take, for example, trauma. People that rape, for example. People try to numb the heartbreak, the memories, all those stuffs. So family issues, dysfunctionalities in families and the rest of them, maybe a broken marriage, many reasons. But the fact is that they are trying to escape their present reality. They are trying to create a whole different reality where they can hide away from
whatever it is they are dealing with.
But then it's like very, very temporary, because even if you're trying to like live your reality, the effect of the drug cannot like last forever. Like it cannot be something that you're taking it now and then it's going to last you for like 2 years or 3 years. You're taking it now and then it's probably like the effect is probably going to last for like 30 minutes, an hour, 4 hours, but then like you eventually like go back. Also environment, like the environment that they find themselves, people that are exposed to like violence, and then they have to probably like leave their houses to go and hustle, outside, and then they just see people taking drugs. Some of them even have to push it, right? Some of them just have to like push it, and then they're like, what is this thing I'm even like transporting? Let me just take a taste of it, or let me see what. So like the environment also has like an adverse effect on why people abuse drugs as well.
But then if you look at it, like I think I was reading an article where they said like people that were probably born in an abusive environment end up being abusers. Do you think people that like maybe the environment they find themselves in, like you mentioned, or maybe their parents are abusing drugs, do you think they too can be abusers? They can also abuse drugs in the future or something?
Definitely. People whose parents are addicts have a higher tendency of becoming addicts themselves, except they begin to take deliberate measures. Research has it that people that are genetically predisposed to actually being addictive to substances, well, for people like that, it's very, very necessary they begin to take their life very seriously, curb some certain activities. In fact, they should restrain from taking certain substances. You can see people like that who are predisposed get easily addicted to something like caffeine, coffee. As little as something like that, the person can't live without it, because they already have, like in their genetic system or makeup, that's
that vein,
that thing that just predisposes them to that being addictive to drugs.
So that means even if the children are not like in the family when like their parents are probably abusing drugs, that means even if like the parents are already like taking drugs or abusing drugs before, addicted to drugs before the children are born, it's like already deposited in their DNA.
Exactly.
So as a result of that, they can also abuse drugs if they are not extra careful.
Even if your parents are not the ones, if somebody in your lineage has, it's a whole, DNA is complex. So it's a whole long thread of things that are going on there actually. But even if someone in your lineage was once addicted to drugs, the chances of you actually getting addicted.
But then it's not a stamp on your future.
Exactly.
Just because
Depends
like your parent or somebody in your lineage is a drug, that does not mean that. It just means you have to be extra careful.
Exactly.
Like if everybody had like 50% chance of getting addicted, you probably have 70. But it does not mean there's still 30 out there that means you are not going to be a drug abuser. So you have to take measures to not.
And also we cannot even talk about the causes of or the risk factors of drug abuse without talking about euphoria. I mean, especially in sports, like in the sports industry, like there are a lot of people that they take a lot of drugs because they want to have extra power, extra, energy just to drive. Some of them just want to take it for the joy of it. Some of them, like for instance, now athletes and all these footballers and all of that. Like there are a lot of cases. If you go online, there are a lot of cases of people that they're probably tested positive for this particular drug or that particular drug. So like a lot of people just take it because I want to win. But for some people, it's not like they want to take it because they want to win a medal or something.
Yeah.
Some of them just want to take it because I want to be recognized.
Yeah.
So like
I mean, you just look at they feel like they need these drugs to do better.
Yes.
But you forget that it's actually like an illusion. Like the drug is giving you something that is already inside you.
Yeah, exactly.
So which means with proper hard work, with proper determination, you can actually unlock
Get there,
that.
yeah.
But now you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting your family members at risk of being, like shamed for that.
Mm.
Anyway, before we get into the impacts of this drug abuse on our health and on the individual and their family, we'll be going on a short break, and when we come back, we'll do all of that. So I'll be seeing you. Welcome back to the Timeline Podcast. We are still talking on drug abuse, and now we're about to discuss the effect this abusing has on our individuals, on the people, the family. And you look at it has physical effect, it also has health effects. Well, I'll give it to my professional now.
Okay. Health effects. We can talk about the fact that people that abuse drugs end up becoming schizophrenias, bipolar disorder, and the rest of them. These are all resultant effects. Now, I'm not saying that drug abuse is the only thing that causes these things, but it can bring about all these mental illnesses. We can also talk about the physical effects of it. You notice that people lose weight. It's hard to see someone that abuses drug and the person is very healthy. You see the person very tiny, skinny, because the drug is actually doing a lot of
underwork
on the system. You can see some of them, their teeth changes its structure or something like that. Their lip actually changes structure. These are the physical effects of it, and many other things. We can't even start mentioning. Let's talk about family.
Okay.
The impact it has on your family is it's too much. It's on you, yes, but on your family, it drags them beyond the place where they can actually bear. You see people stealing from their family. They get into all kinds of vices. I've seen someone actually beat his mom up in order to get money to buy drugs. Let's talk about the economic impact. Nigeria as it is, the stress going on, the economy and all the stuff that's happening. And then people are trying to get away from the effects and all those things. They begin to abuse drugs. Now, one thing with these drugs is that most of them are expensive. So because of it, they will need money to keep feeding their reality, the so-called fake reality or pseudo reality they are creating for themselves to escape what's happening. So because of that, they keep spending until they don't have anymore. You see people resulting to kidnapping.
Crime,
So I won't be surprised that the increase in the kidnapping situation in Nigeria, this might actually be one of the things that is increasing it in the nation, because they can't just fund their vanity. Let me put it like that. So because of that, they go through they engage themselves in all kinds of vices, kidnapping, threatening people. They just want stealing is one of the lying. You cannot find a drug addict that tells the truth. In fact, they tell
a lot of lies.
They always tell lies about almost everything because they're always looking for a way to get something out of people, and they don't do well at work.
Of course.
Even their personal life, their relationship.
Exactly. So everybody around them actually suffers the effect of this.
And worst case scenario is even death, because this UNODC, that's the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, they had this report on the effect that drug abusing does, and it talked about meth, and they said that meth, opiates, and cocaine are highly addictive, and they cause multiple short-term and long-term health consequences, including psychotic behavior, seizures, or death. They also talked about the fact that kidney, alcohol usage too can actually lead to liver problem, kidney problems, you got brain damage, and then even the fact that using these drugs now puts them in a like violent position, because now there are violent people that try to stop them, and violent even themselves, they harm themselves too.
Okay, before everybody has been reading, so like I just have a very simple question. It feels like I'm going to take you back, but I'm sorry. I was reading an article about drug abuse and the brain. So you know, the number of terms, like terminologies that they were using, I could not even understand. So I'm saying, let me ask you now, because they were saying when you take a drug, first off, it goes directly to your brain, and then it does something, and then one thing again happens. I just want you to explain the link between, you know, drug abuse, the brain, and mental health.
Okay, let me just try to be as simple as possible.
Yes,
so that any layman
will
can understand. Okay, so the thing that happens is just that when you take drug for the first time, it's just like taking a foreign something. You're just introducing something new to your system, to your body. Your system at first tries to fight it. That's the first reaction you have to the drug. And then there are like all sorts of wiring in the brain. So when we take drugs, there are sites, let me just call it sites, in the brain where these drugs go to and attach themselves. So with these drugs being attached, when they get to the brain, what happens is that they try to take over. Do you understand?
Drugs, right?
Yes, and begin to produce an effect there. So if at a point you continuously take the drugs, you become accustomed to it. I always tell people it's just like having muscle memory. You suddenly develop like that thing just becomes part of you.
Okay.
So you don't want to live without the effects of that or the feeling you get from taking the drug.
Yeah.
So take for example, you're taking meth, like you mentioned, and it gives you this
exhilarating feeling.
Exactly. So you usually fight to people. Take for example, you fight with your husband all the time. Yeah, so you want to escape the reality. So how do you do that? You take meth, and then you realize that anytime you take it, you feel happy, you feel nice, you feel good. So eventually there's a chemical produced in the system. Dopamine is a happy hormone. So as soon as you take the drug, it makes you happy. So you're excited. So that you just pulls you out from the reality of where you are. And then constantly you will want that feeling. You want the feeling to keep repeating itself. So you keep taking the drug. The more you take the drug, I think the downside, the terrible side of this thing is that you can't just take, let me give for example, one dose. Let me say 1 tablet, and then maybe in the next 2 months you are still taking 1 tablet.
No.
It's not possible. You will need a higher dosage, like 1.5.
So does that mean that does that mean that it's the brain that is sending the reaction to your body to like want more?
Exactly. Because it's producing all kinds of effects. Remember, the brain sends information to the body.
Yes.
So you are taking the drugs is moving to your bloodstream, to the brain, and then sending other effects to the body. So your body what's the reason why these people can't just let go of the drugs is the withdrawal symptoms. The withdrawal symptoms, imagine taking away something that you are already used to. You see people begin to have seizures, runny nose, like
bleeding.
Exactly.
Which means the happiness that they get from that drug, that is just temporary. They're the ones making it up. That means they can never achieve the highest level of happiness. They will keep taking more dosage to keep reaching.
Exactly.
That means they will keep taking it forever.
That's why they can't have money, because you have to keep buying higher doses. You have to keep getting larger quantities to feel happy. Your body, the word there is tolerance. Because your body becomes tolerant to the drug, so it's no more. You will need a higher dosage to produce the same effects that you had before. So you keep spending to produce that effect.
So if you take 1 today, you can take like 7
exactly
next week.
Exactly.
And then we can't even forget the fact that people that inject themselves, with like heroin and other drugs, the infection they can get from it, because now they are trying to minimize money enough to have funds to purchase more drugs. So now they are sharing the injections, leading to like high rates of HIV, AIDS, other infections on their body. And then even look at people now, you mentioned sports. You mentioned sports as a reason why people
Take
actually.
drugs. Yeah.
How about the effect of it is when they are caught, the punishment does not just rest on them.
Exactly.
Their medals are taken from them. Talk about the global shame.
Yeah.
Then their country. Because the next thing is they would never believe that people that that are doing the drugs are just them. You feel like it's the whole country that is doing
doing
the
it. Yeah.
Now-
Brings a bad image.
Yeah. Now are there available treatments for this? Like, do you think are there treatments? Because I'm sure there will be, but are there any treatment that not just the ones we see on social media that this government is doing this or that? Personally, do you think there are treatments that are there?
Of course, drug addiction can be treated. It's very, very possible to treat it, but the problem is the people's willingness to be treated.
Okay.
Because just like I said, when you are used to something, it's actually very hard to actually take it away from somebody, and especially something you love. You love the feeling, you love the whole euphoria.
Perfect, yeah.
Do you understand? So it's I don't want to say difficult, but it's something that the person has to give himself to. So the first thing or the first step to actually getting free from drug addiction is actually willingness.
Okay.
Because the person has to understand first that he or she is doing something wrong.
Okay.
Because many of them don't realize actually. In fact, you have to educate and psycho-educate and educate in actually to get them to understand that this feeling
It's not
real.
Yeah.
So you have to educate them to come to that point where they actually are willing to give to receive treatment.
Yeah. But sorry, carry on.
Okay, so I also wanted to mention that you need therapy.
Okay.
Therapy.
This point cannot actually be underemphasized because in order to break free from drug addiction, you need accountability. Someone has to. It's not possible to be free from drug addiction in isolation. It's not possible.
Yeah.
You say, I'm doing it by myself, I'm getting myself free by myself.
Go back
You will get back there at the end of the day.
Yes.
You need someone to watch you, know what you're doing, and that's the beautiful thing about therapy, because there are all sorts of things they know what works for you. By the time they try a few things, they know what works and what doesn't work for you.
So now you mentioned that you have to prove to these people that it's not real.
Okay.
Which means you have to show them a better option.
Exactly.
And you need to give them professional help. Now, do you think that there are enough doctors out there to help them get get the proper professional treatment they need?
Okay, so let me ask you a question too.
Okay.
So since we all live in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So how many times have you heard of a psychologist, like you come out on the road and you be like, what do you do for a living? Person like, I'm a psychologist.
I mean,
there's very
it's very rare.
Yeah.
So and even psychiatry or psychiatrists, you see that they're actually very little. Actually, people prefer to go into surgery and the rest of them when it comes to studying medicine.
Yeah.
So in Nigeria, we have actually very few people who are giving themselves to these things. Even people that end up studying psychology, most of them are people that didn't actually get their course of choice.
Yeah.
So
the passion is not there.
Exactly. JAMB send them to study psychology.
So that means the doctor to patient ratio for drug abuse is like nothing to write home about.
Yes, actually not. Even we are still talking about the doctors to patients. The facilities are just not there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even the ones that are there, the ones that are existing, they are not well maintained. They don't have the adequate instruments, the tools to actually carry out the necessary treatments. And also in Abuja, at least we have a few wellness centers and psychiatric clinics. But if there are parts of Nigeria where you go to, you might never see any, or actually one in the entire state.
It's like how the distance, maybe you have to go to a far place to access it, and that's enough to even kill their desire.
So and it's because of the stigma that comes with mental health.
Okay.
Sure.
People just don't want to be identified with mental health. So because of it, we don't really take it seriously in the country. Imagine me coming out to say that my brother has a schizophrenia. People will look at you first like
they will start ostracizing the family.
Exactly. But they don't realize that the same way you identify with cancer and you need to go and see an oncologist, that same way, if you have a mental illness, you should be very confident and bold to walk into a clinic for treatment. But due to Nigeria's system and our orientation about mental illness or mental health, we lack the necessary. So these are all the things that the Ministry of Health and Minister of Health has to look into.
Implement.
Yeah.
So the summary of what we discussed now is, for these drug abusers, they need to be willing, first of all, to accept this treatment. And even for those that have passed the stage where they can now offer their own consent, their family members too need to be willing to bring forth their...
Even the community.
Yeah, and then the government too needs to do better in the creation and the management of these facilities.
Yes.
Because even the ones that are present don't have enough, they don't have enough equipment inside. Yeah, so that's just basically it. So call to action, everybody needs to actually work hard. Even you as a person, you need to educate yourself on the adverse effects of drugs, both
people around
prescription drugs and the ones and hard drugs too.
Yeah.
And also involve people. When you see people that are going down this way, you can help them or help them get the emotional support they need.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would like to also add that awareness for mental health, it has to be taken very, very seriously.
Yeah.
Because families are not even aware of some of the things that happen to children or their relatives. They just either attribute it to misbehavior or one other thing or the other. But when they realize, when this awareness, when we begin to
speak more on
exactly, people begin to be aware that these certain symptoms are signs that this person should be taken to a doctor or to a clinic for help. And then, because family support is one of the things that actually helps
in getting them the help they need.
Exactly.
Yeah, because as long as they're already willing, so like family support to just boost the whole.
But if your family is actually isolating you,
then there's a problem.
you'll be like,
There's a problem. And this is where we draw the curtains on today's episode. As usual, keep the conversation going in the comment section. Keep it respectful. Follow us on our social media network at
Healed Network.
I am Jennifer.
And I am Precious.
Jennifer.
Also Jennifer.
I will see you soon.
Bye.